Her previous book, I read it. Hated it. Controversial. I was like, did she write this for me? Like, did she feed this into a what Cari wants to read generator? Because yeah. Here, okay. Hello. Hi. Welcome to another video. My name is Cari. Thank you for being here. Mid-year freak out tag. Well past mid-year. Sorry. I have decided to give it a try. These are always fun. I don't know why. I kind of came to BookTube after the tags. There was like a big era of doing tags, and I think I came right at the tail end of that. And I feel like now there's a resurgence. So I'm very excited to partake in the mid-year freakout tag. I think I've done this a couple years. Weather update. Why is it so gray and cold? It is gray and hot outside. I live in Korea. It is, as I'm filming this, July 8th, rainy. This is the middle of the rainy season, the beginning of the rainy season. And from now until probably September 1st, we are going to have rain and rain and rain and rain. Also, can you hear construction? I'm hoping that my mic softens it, but there's also construction that should be stopping soon because they should take their lunch break. Pouring rain, torrential downpour. Can't see the buildings very close to my house. The clouds are that thick. Nothing I can really do. If anyone's wondering, because it's just bothering me to see it in the viewfinder, Pimple, she's here. We're happy to have her. She's going down. She's had her time. She's on the way out. This will be her last hoorah. Get a good look. She will not be in any more videos. Where are my notes? Where are my notes? Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 13-ish questions from what I copied and pasted from with Cindy's description box. So if I missed any, blame her, please. And we're gonna dive right in. But before that, shout out to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Yes, Squarespace is a great place to host your online presence. I have been using them for many years. If you don't know, I have another channel, Caricakes, which is much more travel and lifestyle content. If you want my Seattle vlogs, which includes a lot of bookstores, it's all gonna be there. I use Squarespace to post my kind of supplementary content. I use Squarespace much more as a blog. So I post a lot of different trip write-ups and things like that. Super easy to set up. I am not techie. It took me a couple clicks. They have really great free templates. So for me, it was just like click, click, click. But they have a lot of new kind of AI features that help you take your design to the next level and really customize it. So regardless of what you're trying to build, for me, it was a blog, but they also have monetization features. So you can have a shop. They have different like subscription levels and email feeds and things like that that would encourage a kind of online community space. Really, whatever you want to do, Squarespace can help you do it. So I will have a link in the description box, but you can use my code CariCanRead to get 10% off of your first website or domain. And they've got comment section, analytics. I mean, whatever you want to do, you can do it. And especially coming from a very non-techie person, extremely simple to set up. So always thank you to Squarespace. That information will be in the description box. And let's dive in, okay? Here we go. Question number 1, starting off strong. What is the best book I have read so far in 2024? I feel like I have had a strange reading year in which at the end of the month, I always feel like, ugh, I didn't really read any good books. And then when I look back, there actually were quite a few books that I enjoyed, but they just didn't stick. Like I haven't had a book that has just stuck with me. Now, like in June, getting closer to June, I feel like I did. And this kind of tag helped me remember books that I did read and enjoy. But one book that has stuck with me, and I think I read it in January, which is a really good sign, is The Library at Mount Char. I think that this was a book that was new and interesting to me, but also reminiscent of other books that I love. Like I've said, it had similar themes to like Nona the Ninth, books that I love, but just done in a new way. Expectations were high. Expectations were met. which has not been the theme of the year. It was funny, it was sad, it was new, it was familiar. I had a good time. So Library at Mount Char is a very dark, adult. This is not a young adult book, okay? Read the trigger warnings. Go into it fully knowing what you're going to be hit with, because you're going to be hit with a lot. This is about a group of children who were now adults, who were raised by this figure that they just call father. And as we are introduced to this family, I suppose, we get the feeling that father may or may not be God, but he has tasked each child with learning everything there is to know about whatever subject he assigns to them, and never shall they meet. So together they allegedly hold kind of all of the knowledge that God could have, but they're just individual. So like one of the brothers is like the war and violence and death one, and another brother is the wilderness nature one, and he can like talk to all the animals and things. I thought it was really good, but it does have so much violence and like every kind of violence, and it is on the page. The main character also has my name, which was not an enjoyable experience. So it kind of lost points for that. But yeah, this was just one that for better or for worse has stuck with me this year. Library at Mount Char. The best sequel I have read so far in 2024. I have two, but I'm gonna do the one that I'm kind of cheating on, and this one's like I just want to talk about this book, so I'm making up an excuse to talk about it. This book is You Should Be So Lucky. I mentioned it before. This is by Cat Sebastian. Oh, love. If you love romantic comedies with a sprinkling of historical historical fiction, but you also don't need a plot. Okay? Cat Sebastian is for you. I read The Queer Principles of Kit Webb and What About Marion Hayes? Something about Marion Hayes. First, that is a duology that takes place in the 1700s. No plot, just laughs. Marion Hayes delves with deeper topics. Kit Webb, silly times, and great fun. So when I saw on NetGalley that I could apply for the advanced reader copy, the ARC, of You Should Be So Lucky, I jumped at it. This is technically a sequel. So Cat Sebastian does this a lot, where she will have books that are not technically duologies, but like we follow one couple in this book and then another couple is in this book, but like it's... So we have recurring characters in her books. And so technically, You Should Be So Lucky follows We Could Be So Good. So We Could Be So Good comes first, which I didn't read. Oops. Oops. But I did read You Should Be So Lucky, and I think you can read it as a standalone. I don't think it spoils anything, because in romantic comedies, you expect the couple to end up together at the end, you know? So there are characters that have had their own story going that are in this. Long-winded introduction to say that this is about baseball. In the 1960s, New York City, we've got a journalist who is tasked with covering this new baseball player, helping kind of ghostwrite this little column for him to hopefully help him out, because this man's having a rough time. Is this like really bright? He's supposed to be like rookie of the year. He just got bought for like an insane amount of money, brought over from the Midwest to New York City to play, and he has not been able to hit a ball. He is just like in the worst slump, and everyone hates him. The entire city of New York hates him. So the journalist, who doesn't care about sports, is trying to help him get some fans, you know? It was just really good. I love Cat Sebastian so much. So if you don't know about baseball, it's fine. If you don't care about the 1960s, if you don't care about New York, doesn't matter. It's a great book. Okay? please read it. But a book that is truly a sequel that I really loved has got to be Map of the Other Lands. I personally really liked Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I thought that it was kind of fresh. I loved the two main characters, Emily and Wendell. I loved their dynamic. My only complaint really was the pacing was a little odd. I thought that we got a kind of fake out. I thought it was going to end at one point, but then there was still so much book left. It kind of just, there were too many things going on. So fantastic book, not a perfect book. Map of the Other Lands, I think she fixed that. I think the pacing was still a little weird. Like, that's just her thing. I think that particular brand of storytelling where you get a big introduction and then we go on this kind of side quest that actually is the main quest, and then we continue on. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. But in Map of the Other Lands, I think that because of where the plot kind of left us off in the last book, she was able to jump in and be funnier. I think like it was just a funnier book. I think that the relationships were cute, like all the little friendships and just the characterizations, they all fit together a bit better. It was just, you just gotta trust me. This one was better and I really enjoyed. Okay? Thank you. Okay, new releases that I haven't read yet but want to. So when I wrote up these notes, miracles happen, okay? When I was typing up my notes, I put, I want to read The Lion Women of Tehran, and I had a 14-week wait at the library. But you know what happened? Again, miracles. Oh no, I deterred it. I was like, I got it yesterday. I deterred it because I'm going on vacation soon and I want to focus on it. But yeah, so I want to read that. I want to read, which I'll probably read very soon on the airplane, Just for Summer. I've heard great things. Oh, I actually did a good job. Oh, I want to read The Ministry of Time simply because it was really buzzed about. I know nothing about it. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel. What else? I've been doing pretty good this year in terms of keeping up with the releases that I want. Oh, wow. Yeah, in terms of books that are already out. Is Lady Macbeth out yet? Because I do want to read Lady Macbeth as well. But yeah, in terms of books that are already out, I've been doing a pretty good job of keeping up with the ones that I want to read. But going into most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. Oh, come on. So I've got a really long list, so I decided to just talk about 3. Let's just talk about 3 of them, okay? Number 1, A Sorceress Comes to Call, T. Kingfisher, coming out in August. We've got a month. And what is this? This is a dark reimagining of the Brothers Grimm, The Goose Girl, rife with secrets, murder, and forbidden magic. What does it say? It says that Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms, and there are no secrets in this house. And her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend. When her mother unexpectedly moves them into the manor home of a wealthy old squire and his kind but keen-eyed sister Hester, Cordelia knows this welcoming pair are to be her mother's next victims. So in. Anything T. Kingfisher writes. I'm there. Next up is a book coming out in September, A Dark and Drowning Tide. This is a sharp-tongued folklorist must pair up with her academic rival to solve their mentor's murder in this lush and enthralling sapphic fantasy romance from the New York Times best-selling author. Ooh, her name's Lorelei. Love it. Love good names. Okay, so excited because I really enjoyed Far Wilder Magic. I really enjoyed Down Comes the Night. But a book I didn't talk about, and I kind of won't, her previous book, this is by Alison Saft. Previous book, I don't talk about because it's part of the SMP boycott, which is still going on. Anyway, I haven't talked about it, but her previous book, which was published under Wednesday Books, which we are not supporting. Hold on, my apartment has something to say. They might be testing our fire alarm. Nobody panic. Myself included. Her previous book, I read it. Hated it. Guys, it was so bad. It was doing like, it was supposed to be inspired by like Irish. I don't even know. She made her characters like Irish and British, and it felt very weird. Like, if we're gonna talk about colonizer, I feel like the kind of buzzed about phrase of this year is like colonizer romance. Gave me the, I didn't love it. I didn't love anything that she was trying to do in that book. It made me very angry. So I want her to redeem herself. I want to read A Dark and Drowning Tide, which is published by Del Rey. I want her to come back from that, because that was, what was that, Allison? What was that? So I really want to read A Dark and Drowning Tide. The cover, incroyable, hit me, Allison. Come back to me. All right. And then the next one is one that is actually sitting on my Kindle right now. I got the ARC, but it is coming out October 1st, and that is Air by Sabaa Tahir. I cannot. So prepare for the action-packed, ruthless, and romantic new fantasy from New York Times best-selling and National Book Award-winning author about love, legacy, and vengeance. We have an orphan, an outcast, a prince, and a killer who will bring an empire to its knees. Oh my, I am so excited. Beloved storyteller Sabaa Tahir interweaves the lives of 3 young people as they grapple with power, treachery, and the devastating consequences of unchecked greed on a journey that may cost them their lives and their hearts. Literally. Who wrote this? Cannot wait. Can't wait. Like I said, I have a list. I have a very long list. Books that I want to read that are coming out in the second half. I always hang on to hope that the second half of the year rises to the occasion. So we'll see. But yeah, those are some that I'm looking forward to. Biggest disappointments of the year. I have 2, and I'll try to be quick because I've talked about them at length already. Number 1 being, it hurts me to say this, but Tempest of Tea. I loved the We Hunt the Flame, We Free the Stars duology. Especially We Free the Stars. Loved. So when I heard that this author was writing a heist, a kind of like Six of Crows, Peaky Blinders, but with vampires and King Arthur thing that surrounds a tea salon, I was like, did she write this for me? Like, did she feed this into a What Cari Wants to Read generator? Because yeah. Yeah. It was unfortunately a letdown. I think I got the arc of this. I think I read this right before it was released, and it's multi-POV, and it does something that I don't love. I think that in some cases it works. Like for example, Six of Crows, Kaz, mastermind, always is like pulling stuff out of nowhere that we don't, as the reader, we are not privy to until like it happens, and then Kaz is like, ha, yeah, I set that all up. Kind of tried to do some of those things in this book, and I didn't think it hit the same. The romance was kind of out of nowhere. One of the romances was cute. All for that one. One of the romances was not there. I felt like there were a lot of these like really great lines that you could pluck from the book and put on like a Pinterest board or like a collage of like, oh my God, you have to read this book. Look at this line. But then the story around it wasn't good. You know, I think she can write these beautiful pieces, and then it's just like doesn't fit for me. It wasn't very heisty. And then once the heist was happening, it was actually quite confusing. I think too much was going on. I think we were trying to hit too many tropes. It was like, okay, we have to have the knife on the throat, almost kiss scene, and we have to have, you know, this and this and this. Trying to push so much into this story to make it perfect, or to make it perfect for me. And there wasn't a lot of tea house. There wasn't a lot of heist. There was a cat. So, points for that. But yeah, Tempest of Tea, I think because my expectations were like, yeah. Next up, another disappointment, Education and Malice. Another book with a perfect concept. We are talking about academic rivals to lovers, a sapphic romance revolving two students studying poetry. There are also vampires. This is kind of a Camilla retelling. It was so good for like 50%, and then it just like floated away. I heard from other readers that this author did talk about how this book in particular was really difficult to finish. It was felt, unfortunately. So I think both of these, what do these have in common? Tempest of Tea and Education and Malice. On paper, the concept, the plot, the summary, gold. The execution, a miss for me, unfortunately. Those are my biggest disappointments. On a positive note, my biggest surprises. How should I start? Oh, darn it. I do have the physical. Oh, I'm lazy. I'm comfortable. I don't want to go find it. Okay, so the first book, I do have the physical. Thank you, Susan, for giving it to me. It is in the other room. I don't want to get up. But that is Snow Globe. This was not on my radar until Susan Lee, also an author. Also, you should check out her books. She's great. And she's a friend. So she sends too many books my way, and we love her for it. So yeah, Snow Globe wasn't on my radar until she mentioned it. And it is originally written in Korean, translated to English. And I've kind of struggled with translations, specifically from Korean. I think that when you translate Korean into English, the books that have been translated tend to all have a certain voice, and they feel a little translated, if that makes any sense. But this book is not only young adult, which I feel like not a lot of young adult books get translated into English, but it also read very naturally. Like, I would have thought that this was an originally written in English book if I hadn't known. Snow Globe is, like I said, young adult, dystopian. It's kind of a mixture of like The Truman Show and Snowpiercer. Stay with me. We're living in a world that is frozen for whatever reason. Inside a globe exists this city that is, you know, temperature controlled, beautiful. You can change the weather however you want to every single day. It's usually gorgeous. But the only catch is, for the people who live in the globe, the trade-off for them living in such luxury is that they are filmed all the time. And sometimes it's kind of Truman Show-esque, of it's just like, girl lives her normal everyday life. But sometimes they have like serial killer shows, and like the serial killer is actually murdering people. You just gotta read it to get it. But we follow our main girl who lives on the outside, but it is her dream to become a director. She wants to go to film school so that she could become a director and direct some of the shows that go on in the Snow Globe. And she gets tangled up in some absolute madness because she was promised a spot in the film school. It's really bonkers, and then it just continues to get more insane. It had a lot to say, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that is Snow Globe. A big surprise. Thank you, Susan. Another surprise is The English Understand Wool. This was a very short story. If you're wondering, I read The 6 Deaths of a Saint at the very end of 2023, so it doesn't get it. That would have been my biggest surprise, okay? 6 Deaths of a Saint swept me off my feet. I am still being swept away by it every day. But The English Understand Wool is a short story. I think it's about 60 pages. I heard about it from a TikTok by Ann Patchett. Picked it up on a total whim, knowing nothing. This was one of those short stories that it takes you on a journey, but the ending brings you right back and it just feels satisfying to have read it. We follow a girl who is mega wealthy, and one day her parents disappear. And that's an issue. That's a big weird thing that happened. And we follow her kind of in the aftermath of that. I don't want to tell you too much more. Would love to see this made into like a mini series or even just like a short film. I'd love to see it visually. But The English Understandable went into it with nothing, came out just like, oh, great. And then my last one for biggest surprise, I actually have the physical. This is When Among Crows. Do you see the shiny? Please. So good. This is by Veronica Roth, author of Divergent. I never read Divergent. So I went into this kind of expecting nothing. I didn't really know what to expect because this is an adult urban fantasy versus her young adult dystopian novels from like 10, 15 years ago 20 years ago, guys, 20 years ago that I didn't read. So this, I read the arc. I'm going to read it again, actually, now that I have the physical, like properly published book. This was really good. This is like I said, an urban fantasy, takes place in Chicago, which I have now learned all of her books take place in Chicago. Fun fact. But it pulls back to a lot of Polish / Slavic, but like specifically Polish folklore. We follow witches, vampires. We're in like nightclubs. It's very like nighttime city, grody, back alleys, dance clubs that are also fight clubs that are like I just loved the dynamic of the three main characters. Thought the setting was just what I love. I love modern day urban fantasies, and this one hit. I really liked it. I don't even like remember why. It just did it. It did it for me. And now I have it physically and the cover is gorge. So yeah, this one was, it's also quite short. It's 166, that's the acknowledgements even. It's 162 pages. My only complaint was that I would have liked it to be a little bit longer, actually. And I'd love to return to the world with these characters. So Veronica, thank you. Next question, favorite new author. So I will go with 3, okay? Number 1 being Kelly Andrew. I read The Whispering Dark and Your Blood, My Bones pretty close to each other. I really enjoyed both of these books. Kelly Andrew writes, like I said, these kind of modern urban fantasies, but they're always tied a little bit to death, and there's a lot of decay. Just the imagery that she chooses to use. The first one, Whispering Dark, takes place mostly in Boston in like autumn, takes place at this university. So I just picture like bricks and crunchy leaves and scarves and this kind of almost academic rivals to lovers, but who knows kind of thing. It gave me a similar feeling to the Raven Cycle. I think that in terms of like Blue and Gansey specifically, I felt a lot of similarities within The Whispering Dark. Your Blood, My Bones is much more East Coast on a farm, an encroaching forest, a dilapidated greenhouse, a kind of haunted house that they're living in. I've enjoyed, of the 2 books that I read of hers, this is my first time reading her books, loved them both. Kelly Andrew, looking out for your next book for sure. After that, shout out to June Her. After so many of you guys recommending her work and having her, she's been on my TBR for so long, but I finally got around to reading her newest release, which is A Crane Among Wolves. June Her writes young adult historical fiction, specifically based on Korean history, and I'm just kind of a sucker for Korean history in general, so I'm like the target audience. But she chooses such interesting pieces of history and perfectly balances giving us real facts, especially because just to like nerd out a little bit. She must have so much fun researching because Koreans historically were obsessed with recording things. So you can actually find, like, unless it was burned by, you know, the Japanese or anyone else who has walked through here and burned stuff, you can find records of like, what did this guy eat for breakfast on, you know, Tuesday, February 3rd, 1501, you know? You could find that because the records are there. They wrote everything down. So she's able to put so much real detail into the books and then infuse them with her fictional story. But you end up like learning so much at the same time. I think that that's always such an interesting balance with historical fiction of like, is the historical part just like the setting? Are you just making things like in the periphery historically accurate for whatever time you want to be telling the story? She directly inserts you into a moment in history with these like real life characters. It was just a ride. It was so fun, especially reading it in Seoul and her mentioning these different places. Like, so fun. So I enjoyed A Crane Among Wolves, and I have all of her other books high up on my TBR, ready to read. That is June Her. And then last but not least, in my favorite new authors, controversial, Tahereh Mafi. Is she a new author? No. Does she feel like a new author? 99% yes. Miss Mafi wrote Shatter Me. Yeah, The Shatter Me. Yeah. And most recently has come out with a new series, This Woven Kingdom. I have read Shatter Me. I have read Shatter Me more than once, in fact. And I liked it. It was very, I've said this many times, but it was very like of the time. It was a fantastic early 2000s, mid to like 2010s, edgy, dystopian-esque book, okay? She hit it. She did it. Great for her. This Woven Kingdom reads like a different author in a good way. Like, I'm not shitting on Shatter Me, but This Woven Kingdom is just made of something different. Like, it's based off of a lot of Persian folklore. It is so poetic and flowery and lyrical to the point where in the beginning of the first book, I felt a little like we were holding our characters at an arm's length because we were so fluffy with our words. But once we got to know the characters, oh, fantastic. I will say she's coming back to her cray-cray Shatter Me stuff with the next two books because she's just toying with us. She is making this the slowest slow burn I've ever read. Hands down, ever. And I feel like it's funny. Like, it's gotten to the point where it's funny at the end of the third book. If the fourth book, if I don't get something, it's not funny anymore. But it has been just a really great time. And it's so cool to see, like, a decade later, how much an author can change, but still, like, you can tell it's her. The shit she pulls. So, yeah, I'm having a great time with this Tahereh Mafi 2.0, I will say. So, not a new author, but yeah. Okay, it's literally sitting right there. Please, I'm begging you, someone tell me his name. I don't want to have to go get my book. Oh, thank God. Takan. The next question is your newest fictional crush. I guess I'm being really picky. I feel like I could have answered this a lot easier last year. But this year I was being a little tougher on all the characters I read. And the only person that came to my mind immediately was Six Crimson Crane's boy, is what I called him. His name is Takan. We love a boy that is a little shy, but maybe not really, and loves to read. Is just good all around. Loves his little sister. Is just a cutie. We love, okay? Yeah, this exercise made me realize that I remember no one's names. After I read a book, they're gone. So yeah, I could probably name a couple more characters, but he was the first to come to mind. So he deserves the slot. Takan from Six Crimson Cranes. Yeah. Next questions. Newest favorite character. So I have 3, and because I don't remember anybody's name, I had to look them up. First one being Anekus from To Shape a Dragon's Breath. I enjoyed this book in general, but I also just enjoyed her character, and I couldn't put my finger on why. And then I listened to a review by My Name is Marines, and she mentioned that she has a kind of flat arc. So she is who she is from the beginning. We see her like grow in small ways like any normal person would going through life, but in terms of her belief system, the kind of core of her character never changes. We don't have a hero arc, we don't have a villain arc. She is just her, and I think that for this story that's so important. To Shape a Dragon's Breath follows our girl Anekus, who is indigenous to the land that she lives on, and she discovers a dragon egg, and world building, but she has to go to the nearest city of the colonizers to get an education, to learn about these dragons, because that knowledge has kind of been lost to time in her village. So she has to deal with so much shit. And she just, like I said, is who she is the whole time. And that was quite refreshing. And like I said, important to the theme of the story. So Aneku's number 1. Number 2, I have to look up her name. Hold on. They all say a young woman, a strong female. Come on, tell me her name. Zinnia, did they just call her Zin? Anyway, Zinnia/Zin, also her best friend Charm. Okay, we're doing a twofer. From A Spindle Splintered. I just read this recently, so I think it's fresh in my mind. This was a fun Sleeping Beauty retelling in a way. It was just a fun time. It was, I don't want to go too much into it because I just recently reviewed it, but these two adored. I had a really fun time with their voices. Their characters in particular were just really funny. Like if you took a random Gen Z, threw them into an alternate universe fairy tale, it was just a good time. It was a good time. So yeah, Zinnia, aka Zin, did I make that up? And Charm, for sure. And then my next most recent reads and a fave dynamic, I wouldn't say I love them separately, but I love them together, is Hawthorne and Juliana of The Forest of Dreams and Whispers. I mentioned this already as a great book to read if you love Carden and Jude, if you love Emily and Wendell. It's very like tough girl with a sword trying to like save the day, just like survive. And then bratty, kind of annoying, low-key narcissistic, and just kind of aloof fae prince. Loved them. Loved them. Thank you. My battery is about to run out. So real quick, book that made me cry. Most recently, Beach Read. I feel like I cried so much in so many books this year. So honestly, this is just the first 2 that came to my mind. Beach Read, just a couple like last week. Got me teary-eyed. Got me fully, all right, tears falling out of my eyeballs. Thank you, Emily Henry. Second one, I just wrote down, I've already mentioned it already, but Your Blood, My Bones. That one was also just rough. Honestly, I'm trying to think. I just read The Measure. That made me cry. So many books, honestly, like, which leads me to the next question. So I can't even begin to list all the books that made me cry this year. Leading into books that made me happy, I could only think of one. I'll throw in Cat Sebastian, okay? Cat, You Should Be So Lucky also gets a shout out for making me happy. But I wrote, there are not a lot that I can say that made me happy without sounding a little deranged. Yeah, so there were books that like parts of it made me happy, but on the whole, no. I think one that just made me happy the whole time was Earl's Trip. It just got dark. Talked about it, I think, in the very beginning of the year. This is a romantic comedy, but it really mostly was about like platonic friendships. Earl's Trip. This is about a bunch of earls that every year they take a little Earl's trip together, rent a different, castle and have a little 10-day vacation. Something occurs where they need to rescue an old childhood friend from running away from her marriage or whatever. Like some horrible thing that happens to women in the kind of Bridgerton, Georgian era. It was just cute and goofy, and like I said, there were just really great platonic friendship moments. A lot of the book, it felt a little boring, honestly, reading some of it, because there were just so many scenes in which every night they just eat dinner, go into the lounge, the salon, and they just sit and they all just chat with each other and talk about everything under the sun. And it was cute. And I appreciated it. So yeah, I feel like Earl's Trip, I just want to give it a shout out. Again, it was a cute time. Cute time. And so before I answer the last two questions, I need to change my battery. See you in a sec. We're back. Most beautiful book you have bought so far this year or received. Grabbed a couple of them. I already showed you. Look at that. When Amongst Crows. But if you have thoughts about books, if you like reviewing books and you aren't putting them up somewhere, do it, because you never know who's going to see. So I reviewed When Among Crows, and her team saw and sent me some of her other books. So I literally just yesterday finished Chosen Ones, review pending, but also a fun little book. But I just haven't seen this cover. But look real close. Do you see this? You can like subtly feel these little notches. This was so extremely fun to hold, because I obviously don't read it with the book cover. So just holding it and reading it was a really fun time. So just a shout out to this book simply for that. A very nice feeling on my fingers as I was reading. Another book that I just purchased, this is Kairos. This is the International Booker Prize winner. And I just really loved this cover. It has a bunch of covers available here in Korea at the bookstore, but I personally just really was drawn to this one. And then another one that I just bought at a warehouse sale is this copy of Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. It just has such a kind of retro, like that old 80s science fiction cover to it that I really love. So there's that. To be honest, I feel like I haven't bought a lot of books this year, which is great. You know that I'm a library girl. But yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting something, or I have lended something to a friend or whatever. But yeah, very thankful for the books that I do have. Those are some of my prettiest books of the year. And then, what books you need to read by the end of the year. Oh, let's pull up my shelf. Things that I want to read. This will be fun. Apparently, it is somehow related to The Princess Bride, which sounds so fun. It's coming out in September. Also coming out in September is This Fatal Kiss. I started reading it. The cover just, got me. I started reading this. I read about one chapter and I put it down just because I was scatterbrained and wanted to give it my full attention. Obviously, I'm going to be reading Air. I also have the new Haruki Murakami that I want to read coming out in November, The City and Its Uncertain Walls. What else do I have? I have The Mistress of Lies. Is that it? I feel like that's enough. That's enough. But yeah, please answer this question yourself in the comments. What are you looking forward to for the rest of the year? Let me know so that I can get on some holds lists. Get a jump start on everybody. There's a new M.L. Rio, the author of If We Were Villains, is coming out with a book in September called The Graveyard Shift. Looking forward to a lot of things. The future is bright, I think. So that's it. That was the last question. That was my mid-year freakout tag. So again, I think it's like, I feel like this year was kind of blah, but then when I think more specifically, I actually did read quite a few books that I really loved. So there you have it. Thank you for joining me. Let me know any answers to any of those questions. Answer them in the comments. I get 90% of my recommendations from you guys. So lead me on the right path. And yeah, please read Cat Sebastian if you haven't. That's the main takeaway you should be walking away with. This is my last video before I head to Seattle. So I actually will probably be getting on a plane as we speak when posting this. So prepare for a wrap up of a lot of rom-coms. My Kindle is packed. I'm so excited. And then I have a plot summary video coming for you, depending on how fast I can edit, hopefully by the end of July. And yeah, on to the second half of the year. Here we go. Once again, thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this. Information in the description box, but you can use my code CariCanRead to get 10% off of your first website or domain. Check them out. Check out their templates. Have a ball. And yeah, I will leave you here. It is still pouring, in fact. So I'm going to just stay inside and watch My Lady Jane. That is something that I just started last night. Currently, I'm on episode 4. I heard one person in my comments say that the books are better, but I'm honestly enjoying the show. I think the show is quite funny. It's a alternate history that is not historically accurate whatsoever, but it also has a fantasy element to it following Jane Grey. Lady Jane Grey. A good time. It's been a good time so far. So I'm going to edit this up, watch some TV, and head to Seattle. So I'll see you when I get back, okay? So love to you always. Squarespace, thank you so much. See you later, okay? Bye.